Few rivalries in modern WWE have carried the raw intensity and destruction of the battles between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. When these two giants collided, it never felt like a traditional wrestling match. It felt like chaos waiting to explode. Braun Strowman, known as the monster among men, built his reputation on pure strength and uncontrollable fury. He flipped ambulances, crushed opponents with ease, and made destruction part of his identity. Roman Reigns, on the other hand, carried himself as the powerhouse leader of WWE, eventually evolving into the ruthless tribal chief. When their paths crossed, it was inevitable that sparks would fly. Strowman's anger often burned hotter when Roman stood across from him. He believed he was the most dominant force in the company and saw Roman as the obstacle standing in his way. There were moments when Braun's rage spilled outside the ring, leading to unforgettable scenes of him attacking Roman backstage and even targeting vehicles. One of the most shocking visuals came when Strowman flipped an ambulance with Roman inside, a moment that stunned fans worldwide. It wasn't just about winning, it was about sending a terrifying message. Yet for all of Braun's fury and physical dominance, Roman repeatedly found ways to overcome him. Every time they met in high-stakes matches, the outcome seemed to favor the big dog and later the tribal chief. Strowman could throw Roman across the ring and slam him with earth-shaking power, but Roman's resilience always kept him alive in the fight. Spears out of nowhere, perfectly timed counters, and relentless strikes turned the tide time after time. Their rivalry spanned multiple major events, including brutal encounters at Payback, Fastlane, and other marquee shows. In each battle, Braun entered with unmatched intensity, determined to prove he was unstoppable. He lifted Roman with terrifying ease and launched him into barricades, steel steps, and announce tables. The matches were physical wars, often pushing both men to their limits. But somehow, when it mattered most, Roman stood tall. As Roman evolved into the tribal chief in 2020, the dynamic shifted even further. He was no longer just a powerhouse relying on strength. He became strategic and ruthless. Braun still had the size and aggression, but Roman had something different: control. He controlled the pace, the narrative, and often the outcome. The monster among men would charge forward with explosive offense, but Roman would absorb the punishment and strike at the perfect moment. Fans often described Braun as furious whenever Roman gained the upper hand. The frustration was visible. He had the tools to dominate anyone else on the roster, yet against Roman, something always went wrong. Whether it was a missed running power slam or a sudden spear cutting him in half, Braun repeatedly found himself falling short. The destruction he promised often came back to haunt him. Their falls count anywhere. Match remains one of the most chaotic clashes in WWE history. The two behemoths battled throughout the arena, smashing each other through equipment and leaving wreckage behind. It symbolized everything their rivalry stood for: raw aggression, power, and the will to survive. Braun could dismantle structures and overpower opponents, but Roman's endurance and killer instinct carried him through the storm. Over time, the pattern became clear. Braun Strowman could flip vehicles and dominate lesser opponents, but when facing Roman Reigns, he encountered a different level of competitor. Roman thrived under pressure. He embraced chaos and turned it into opportunity. Braun's fury made headlines, but Roman's consistency defined the rivalry. In the end, their clashes told the story of two monsters fighting for supremacy. One relied on brute force and rage. The other combined power with precision and leadership. Braun Strowman's battles with Roman Reigns were unforgettable for their destruction and intensity, but history shows that Roman repeatedly emerged victorious. It wasn't about taking cars away or flipping ambulances. It was about dominance inside the squared circle, and in that arena, Roman Reigns consistently proved he was the superior force.